If you were to start a program right now with a head coach ranked outside the consensus top 10, which one are you going with? Paul in Dallas. So I'm guessing what you're saying is I can't pick any of the normal ones that we usually see. So that would be Ryan Day, Dabo Sweeney, Dan Lanning right now, Mike Norvell. I'll just throw out like Steve Sarkisian. We'll throw out Lane Kiffin. We'll go with coaches that probably aren't brought up to the same level as the ones in the SEC. Maybe if I'll even throw out James Frank. I'll just go with like the guys who aren't usually listed. There's two names I would go with here. Number one is if he was a little bit younger, absolutely, I feel like he'd be the go-to guy. It's Lance Leipold. Lance Leipold knows how to develop talent, and Lance Leipold knows how to be a program builder. He can take any single team and turn it around. The job of what he's done at Kansas is the most baffling thing in all of college football. This was a dumpster fire. Like, if you talk to anybody at Kansas about where this team was, there will be people who say, shut down the football program. We don't even want to see it anymore. It's hurting. It's sickening. What's the point of even playing when we know we're going to get our asses kicked? That's one. But I do think that his age differs from me. And the same thing goes for Willie Fritz, because I love Willie Fritz. I think that he is exactly what you need at Houston right now after the entire thing that happened with Dana. But I'm going to go with Chris Kleiman at Kansas State. Chris Kleiman is a proven winner. All he does is win. All he does is he builds off of his mistakes, and you never see him fall for it twice. Go back and look at what he did in 2020. It was a COVID year. They went 4-6. Every other year, minus the COVID-19 year, Kansas State has had 8 wins. And this was a program that Bill Snyder came back to coach because he wanted to make sure the ship was stabilized. He wanted to make sure that the Wildcats were still a team that were going to be brought up in a prominent light. And he's been able to replace production lost every single year. He's finally starting to win on the recruiting trail. The thing about him is also, he can win because if he won multiple FCS national championships at North Dakota State, and they were a feared team. The reason why North Dakota State is getting every few years looked at to join the FBS is because of what was started by Craig Bowl, that was carried over and then duplicated to tenfold by Chris Kleiman, and then carried over by Matt Entz before he left this offseason. You're getting the recruits. You've won a Big 12 title. You've shown that you can work the transfer portal in your favor. You're retaining talent. And this is not a place of huge upside like in maybe Stillwater, Oklahoma, or in Salt Lake City, Utah. This is Kansas we're talking about. There's not a lot to do out in Manhattan. But you have the players that are buying into the stock, and the Wildcats have a good balanced roster every single year. You look at this team, you're bringing in Matt Wells as your new offensive coordinator, and you still feel like, oh, okay, we can do whatever we want because if we have 3 exceptional runners in our backfield with not only our quarterback in Avery Johnson, that I think is going to be a Heisman hopeful in 2025, not only DJ Giddens, who might be the most underappreciated running back in all of college football, but we also just added in Dylan Edwards. If we want to run the wishbone and just do a lot of options and trick plays, why not? Because we can. Oh, by the way, our defense is always going to be really sound because if we know that there is a certain brand of football that Kleiman likes, and he respects it in practice, and the practice carries over to Saturdays, and Saturdays, we look like a team that as long as we play to our standard, we're not going to lose that many games. I like that to coach. And I think Chris Kleiman is absolutely underrated. If I were to say right now, the SEC is opening up a place next season, and there was a job that was available, maybe not Florida, because Florida feels like they're going to go with a big-time name, like one that's really, really prominent in the SEC. Like Lane Kiffin makes sense. But maybe Ole Miss opens up. Maybe it's Arkansas. I would not be shocked to see Chris Kleiman get a phone call. The guy just wins. And the whole point of adding in a coach of that pedigree is getting somebody who knows how to take the bare minimum and the foundation in place and only build off of it. Whether it be good results, bad results, it's always about taking that next step forward. And that's what Chris Kleiman has done. I like Lance Leipold a lot. Lance Leipold would actually be my pick if he was a little bit younger. But I do think that because Chris Kleiman, who is still on the older side, he's over 50, but the way that he's been able to turn this Wildcats team into the legit X factor in the Big 12, one that's not going to go away quietly, really hard, really, really challenging to duplicate. Next up, hey, you made it to the end of the video. That's awesome. Thank you so much. But before you leave, make sure that you hit subscribe. And if you want to check out any of our other great work, make sure you click on one of the videos here. Am I putting it in the right spot? I'm not entirely sure. I'm really not.